Well, owners of leasehold flats caught up in the cladding scandal have given a cautious welcome to new government proposals set to be announced on Monday. Thousands of homeowners across the UK will no longer be expected to foot the bill for replacing dangerous cladding on their properties under plans due to be set out by the Housing Secretary, Michael Gove. Instead, property developers could be forced to pay to remove unsafe cladding from buildings between 11 and 18.5 metres high at a cost of up to an additional £4 billion. The crisis, which emerged in the wake of the 2017 Grenfell tragedy, has left many residents unable to sell their homes. The BBC's policy editor, Lewis Goodall, says this is a significant development.
Well, it is important because up to now, ministers have insisted that the only people who should receive help are those in buildings with a height of over 18.5 metres for dangerous cladding removal. And I understand that on Monday, Michael Gove, the Levelling Up Secretary, will tell the House of Commons that threshold will be brought down to 11 metres. So if you're in a building, if you're a leaseholder, let's not forget, so many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of them facing potentially ruinous bills and unmortgageable flats as a result of dangerous cladding. You will be in a position to be able to say, well, that cost will no longer be coming out of your pocket. But Michael Gove will also say that it will be for developers to pay and not for taxpayers to pay. And that potentially opens a different can of worms, because that means up to £4 billion he's going to try and extract from developers who hitherto, historically, have been extremely reluctant to pay. They're already paying a small levy for associated costs of this kind. He's going to be asking them to dip in their pockets again. And as I say, they've been very reluctant to do so in the past.
Liam Spender is the spokesperson for End Our Cladding Scandal and lives in a leasehold property. Good evening, Liam. And we can also speak to Steph Pike, who bought her one-bedroom flat in Bristol just over 4 years ago. Welcome to you both. Liam, the crisis has been going on for years now. We've been hearing about it for a long time. Are you feeling reassured at all that the government is now taking your concerns and those of other flat owners affected seriously? Is this a significant shift for you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I mean, as you said in your trailing piece beforehand, we're cautiously optimistic. It's high time the government started taking this seriously. Whether we're there in terms of having a final answer to the question that started with Grenfell, I'm not so sure. I think there's still quite a distance to travel, in particular because the focus is still on cladding, and the issue is not just about cladding, and whether we're prioritising buildings by risk. Those are still open questions.
Just explain that to me for a second. When you say this is not just about cladding, what are the other elements? What are the other parts of this equation?
Well, cladding's what's on the outside of the building, but you can find all sorts of problems on the inside of a building, and many people are unfortunately in that position. So where systems that are supposed to help prevent the spread of fire are defective or missing.
We're talking about things like sprinkler systems.
No, well, not just sprinkler systems, but alarms, fire doors.
All of that.
All of those sorts of things, smoke extraction systems. If they're missing or defective, it can cost a fortune. I mean, one number I've seen is an estimate of £26,000 per flat to fix these internal problems. And there's currently no help at all available for that. That falls on the innocent leaseholders' shoulders.
Of course, that must be a real concern. I mean, the sum that has been mentioned is an additional £4 billion, which property developers could be made to pay. As you say, this is limited to unsafe cladding. How confident are you that the developers are actually going to be forced into paying that money and spending that money?
Well, there's the question. I mean, as I said earlier this evening, it depends on whether the government can get leverage over them and whether it can use it skillfully in a way to extract that money. So that's the mountain Michael Gove has to climb. And whether 4 billion will be enough, there's an awful lot of work to do on what the government calls its proportionate approach before we know whether that money will be enough. But I mean, it's welcome that they're they're trying, even though it may not be enough.
It may not be enough. Liam, stick with us. This is a story, of course, we have followed across Five Live for years. And I know that there are many people who are in a place where they've already had to shell out lots of money. Steph, I know you bought your flat 4 years ago. What did you know about the building at the time?
Oh, hiya. Thank you for having me
It's
on,
good to have you with
firstly.
us.
Did I know about it? At the
Did you
time?
know that there could have been issues? Did you know that it was a possibility that you would have been forking out money?
No, absolutely not. Otherwise, I would never have gone ahead and bought the flat. I actually completed on my flat in the autumn at Grenfell, so obviously it was at the forefront of my mind, and I asked my solicitor to ask those questions, whether the cladding was fire safe and the fire safety and everything came back as fine. And so I proceeded with it. And then it turned out a couple of years down the line that there was a small area of AM cladding, only about 10 square meters. And I don't cost much to fix, but there's also flammable insulation, missing cavity barriers, timber balconies, and all of this stuff that apparently also needs to be completely remediated now.
Let me ask you, Steph, as a result of that, have you already had to pay out money?
Not yet. So we have, our management company, Freeholder, have applied for the building fund. Our building is just 80 metres, so we were able to do that, I think, over a year ago now. Our application was rejected because the application a plan that showed the building as being below 18 metres. It was appealed, and we were supposed to find out the decision in mid-February last year, and we have heard nothing about whether we're successful. So
Steph, that must be incredibly stressful.
It's just it's a constant uncertainty, and I'm facing a bill of probably upwards of £70,000, and it's not knowing whether that's coming, when it's coming. And our freeholder has repeatedly said that if the money can't be recovered from either the building fund or third party, that it will be passed to us through the service.
Yeah, which is absolutely not what you want to hear, is it? Steph, thank you for bearing with us. I know we didn't have the best line for you there, but I think we get a very clear idea of where you are with this. Liam, I just want to get an understanding of the people you speak to who are going through this situation. Of course, everyone must acknowledge that it's incredibly worrying and incredibly stressful. This announcement that's due to happen on Monday, do you think it's going to give people confidence, or do you think this is just another twist in the tale, another twist in the story, which ultimately isn't entirely conclusive?
Well, I speak to people like Steph all the time, and sad to say she's one of the lucky ones because she doesn't have waking watch bills and huge insurance premiums to pay. Other people have it even worse than Steph, so it takes an enormous toll on people. And as for Monday, one announcement won't stop those bills having to be paid. A lot of people are already running out of time. And we've been here at least twice before where the government's announced more money, but there's been no concrete plan for delivering a solution. And that is the key, to deliver a solution. And unless we see that on Monday, then I fear the cycle may be about to repeat itself. But as I say, I am optimistic. Michael Gove seems to understand the problem. He seems to want to do something about it. It's whether the Treasury and the rest of the government machine is going to let him reach a conclusion.
Liam and Steph, thanks for sharing your perspective. Obviously, absolutely hoping for the best outcome for you. And if you've been affected, if perhaps you live in a flat where the cladding is questionable and there's bills to pay, we've heard previously from people who are paying for fire marshals to keep the building safe. Of course, that has a massive cost implication.